When I started my term as president last January, I said to my husband Bob, "I wonder what I will talk about on Yom Kippur." He replied, "I'm sure something will come up." Master of understatement, my Bob. So I just want to say up front that I still feel a profound sadness that I am recording this rather than speaking in front of all of you in a full sanctuary. I miss seeing all of you, and I really hope I never have to turn my condo into a recording studio again, especially for Bob's shofar blowing. However, I do think by the time you hear this recording, we will have found that our High Holy Day services are more meaningful than ever, that our community is strong and vibrant, and that we have much for which we can be grateful. One of the main jobs of a synagogue president is going to meetings, and somehow there have been even more than the usual number of meetings over the last several months. Lucky me. However, meetings can be good, and one can gain additional important insights. I have spent a lot of time thinking about a comment made at a meeting last summer. A participant said he was finding, with the explosion of virtual opportunities in the world of people with whom he could connect, that he was able to create the synagogue of his dreams. That phrase really stuck in my mind. The synagogue of one's dreams. The synagogue of one's dreams. The synagogue of my dreams. What would that look like? Could I create it? It would start with a rabbi and cantor who were knowledgeable, thoughtful, insightful, kind, compassionate, creative, and flexible, who were completely dedicated to nurturing the community. It would have congregants who were serious about Judaism, who wanted to learn and question in order to increase their understanding of Jewish texts, practices, and principles, who understood that there are many pathways to a meaningful Jewish life. It would be a place that created opportunities to meet new people and develop new friendships. It would be full of people who cared about each other, who sent unsolicited emails offering to help during a crisis, who helped set up a shiva without even being asked, who volunteered countless hours to keep the place running, and also full of people who cared about and looked for ways to impact the surrounding community. It would be a synagogue that pushed me to be better, to think more expansively, to understand more deeply. It would be a place that grounded me when the world was chaotic, that supported and cared for me when I needed help, a place where I was known. It would be Rodfei Tzedek. So many people contribute to and create this synagogue of my dreams. When I spoke a few years ago, I talked about the character George Bailey from the movie It's a Wonderful Life, one of my favorites, who learned that his community would not have existed had he not been there. With profound gratitude to all of the George and Georgette Baileys of Rodfei Tzedek, who with their time, money, energy, ideas, and commitment create the community that is Rodfei Tzedek, and with apologies to anyone I inadvertently omit, I want to mention and thank some of the people who have done so much for Rodfei. It is a long list, and I ask for your patience while I go through it. It is so important that we all recognize the invaluable work done by so many volunteers. For volunteering as interim executive director, Sarah Lovey. For getting our finances in order, Doug Kellner, Sarah Lovey, and Brian Schwartz. For successfully applying for a PPP loan, Doug Kellner. For overseeing our endowment, Jim Stern, Andrew Aronson, and Josh Meyer. For overseeing synagogue operations, really a full-time job, in addition to the real full-time job she has, Andrea Fraser. For providing legal advice, Amy Blumenthal and Robin Coiner. For developing this year's wonderful Rodfei Tzedek publications, Jeff Ruby, Ben Waltzer, Hal Weitzman, Mark Sorkin, Shirley Holbrook, Lisa Cohen, Andrei Kuznetsov, Joe Peterson, Sarah Lovey, and Pam Spitzner. Please read them. They are really excellent. For putting together the High Holy Day bags, Lynn Phillipson, Joyce Foyer, Stacy Hamburg, and Sarah Lovey. For organizing the honors, Bob Channon and Sarah Lovey. For leading One Book, One Rodfei, Stephanie Friedman. For leading Minyan Katan, Tali Berkowitz, who has ably taken over from the founders, Sarah Abella and Yael Hoffman. For leading the Sisterhood, Natalie Goldberg. For developing guidelines for reopening the building, a more daunting task than any of us realized when we started, Jim Gimple, Daniel Johnson, Philip Hoffman, and Joanna Martin. For working on grants, Eddie Brenner and Sherry Gutman. For being webmasters, Susan Rosenberg and Judy Chernick. For creating beautiful music with Cantor Rosenberg, Steve Yastro, Yael Hoffman, and Chuck Rosenberg. For the #1 accomplishment of 2020, figuring out how to put the words on the screen during the live stream Na'aseh V'Nishma service, and for the amazing amount of work he does for Road Faith Tzedek always, Chuck Rosenberg. For thinking about how to adapt our building and technology for the future, Andrea Frazier, Ed Hamburg, Howard Hirsch, Erica Benton, Bob Altkorn, yes, I finally got him on a synagogue committee, and Chuck Rosenberg, and Lou Phillipson. For chairing the Chesed Committee, Nancy Jacobson. For chairing the Cemetery Committee, Lydia Polonsky. For being Chief Gardener and Landscaper, Stephen Lovey. For spending hours in Executive Committee meetings, providing invaluable insights and leading important programs, Officers Meg Schwartz, Mark Sorkin, and Russell Smulevitz. And not to forget our staff. For keeping the place going, whether from home or in the office, Veronica Carranza and Leanna Dillaway. For maintaining the building and grounds, not a small task these days, Alejandro and Gerardo Martinez. And finally, for being exceptional leaders and mensches, Rabbi Minkus and Cantor Rosenberg. The synagogue of any president's dreams has one other important attribute. It is filled with people who understand that financial support is a necessary part of synagogue life. 1 year ago, Lou Phillipson announced the Second Chai campaign, with the goal of raising funds to stabilize our budget during times of transition, and he didn't even know the coronavirus was coming. To support new initiatives by the clergy, to develop creative marketing and outreach, and to rethink our physical and virtual space to better meet our needs. The Second Chai Development Committee, led by Martha Roth, set a goal of raising $800,000. And I have the honor today of announcing we have slightly exceeded our goal, raising a total of $800,837 from 77 donors. While this would be a notable accomplishment under any circumstances, it is truly remarkable during the current uncertain times, and I think demonstrates how much the people of Road Faith Tzedek value the community of Road Faith Tzedek. So a big thank you to Martha and her committee, Ruth O'Brien, Sarah Lovey, Stephen Lovey, Lou Phillipson, and Rabbi Minkus, for all the work designing and carrying out the campaign. And thanks in advance to the members of the Second Chai Allocation Committee, Tom Covert, Jeff Ruby, and Sarah Lovey, who will make sure we spend this money wisely and well. And finally, please keep in mind that the Second Chai funds are sequestered for these special projects, and that we still rely on the Kol Nidre appeal for a substantial portion of our operating budget. So thank you for continuing your generous contributions to the Kol Nidre appeal. And finally, thanks to all of you for the privilege of serving the Road Faith Tzedek community. It is my fervent hope that in the coming year and the years ahead, we will continue to grow as a sacred community, devoted to each other and devoted to furthering our understanding of the many ways in which we can lead meaningful Jewish lives. May we all be inscribed and sealed for good health, happiness, and peace. Shana Tova.